Well, it's about time that it finally got cold. And thankfully, I'm on my way to do one of my favorite things in the winter, and that's to go smelt fishing. I've been to this pond a few times before. Usually it's a pretty big smelt. I actually did a smelt video last year, but I figured I'd go in a little more in depth about tackle and kind of how I like to cook them and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. Smelting's one of my favorite things. It is dry January, so you know we're not going to be boozing it up like we usually do for smelt. But it's still one of my favorite things to do, so stick around and hope you can enjoy it.
Yikes, that was probably the worst truck intro so far that I've ever read on this channel, and I guess I'm a little sorry about that. I usually don't realize how bad footage or audio is in a clip until long after filming is wrapped, but we're just gonna charge forward. And here's basically everything that I know about smelt, and I'm gonna do this for you in under 10 minutes, which if you ask me is pretty sweet. Smelt used to be the main forage of ice fishermen on Lake Champlain, but over the last few decades that has been relegated to the ponds of the Northeast Kingdom. Now I find smelt to be some of the easiest fish in Vermont to catch, and if you want to know where to catch some of your own, read a book. No, seriously, read this book. It's the 2023 Vermont Fishing Regulation book. They're free at basically any tackle store or wherever you buy a license, and it lists out each fish species by the body of water that they live in. Now obviously we're fishing at night for smelt as this is when they're most active, so I highly recommend being able to brew a fresh pot of coffee while out in the ice, even if it ends up tasting like an ashtray like this one did. More importantly for smelting, I have this submersible green light that hooks up to a 12-volt sealed lead acid battery, and I'll drop a link to the light in the description below. Smelt are drawn in and attracted by the green light, similar to how a mosquito would be attracted to the blue light of a bug zapper. Every fisherman has their own preference on how deep they like to submerge their light, but I like to hang mine just under the ice. My smelt setup is a 26-inch HT noodle action rod paired with 2-pound fluorocarbon line. I only ever drop these Haley jigs for smelt. They come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes, but they're small, flashy metal lures with the hook attached by a small chain at the bottom of the lure. On the end of the hook, I always add one spike, which of course is just a slightly less grotesque word for maggot that us ice fishermen like to use to sound cultured. I use my flasher, which in this case is a Vexilar FL18, to find smelt suspended in the water column. Smelt will hang out just about everywhere under your light, from right under the surface to hugging the bottom. This night we were fishing in 26 feet of water, and most smaller ponds that hold smelt will have them pretty well spread out early in the year right up until just before ice out. Smelt can sometimes be similar to perch, whereas they'll crowd your jig but not eat. Usually the first fish to end up taking the bait will instigate the rest of the school to begin feeding. Most times it won't take long to fill up a bucket, and on this particular night we ended up catching about 50 smelt. Rainbow smelt are arguably one of the easiest fish to clean, and all you need to do this is a pair of scissors. The first cut is straight down just behind the head about halfway down the body, and the second cut begins at the anal vent, then stay just under the skin and cut back up towards the head. Pinch near the mouth and pull everything out in one motion. And just in case that wasn't obvious enough the first time, here it is again. Cut behind the head, then cut up from underneath the belly, then pull. It's that easy. Everything that's left over is good to eat. Bones, scales, fins, and all. And then obviously repeat this process with the remaining smelt that you have left. One thing to note about smelt is their aroma is quite strange. They don't smell fishy whatsoever, and most people seem to think that they smell like cucumbers or watermelon. And I highly recommend that you find this out for yourself by catching a bucket of your own. Now that everything has been cut up and filleted properly, I'm going to fire up the stove and heat up some vegetable oil to 375 degrees Fahrenheit for a fish fry. While the oil is heating up, I like to get the batter ready to drop the smelt in, and I like to keep it pretty simple. Just about a cup of flour in this seafood seasoning mix that I bought from a gas station in North Euro. Don't knock it, it's actually pretty good, and I add this pretty generously to the mix. After the dry ingredients, I like to crack 1 egg, and obviously this wouldn't be a fish fry without a beer, but unfortunately since it's dry January, this one's not going down the hatch, it's going in the batter. Once all the ingredients are together, I mix it all up with a fork, and I try to get rid of as many clumps of flour as I can. The oil is now screaming hot, so all that's left is to drop the smelt in for about 5 to 7 minutes. I like to use a slotted spoon to make sure they don't stick together while they're cooking. Once they're done, I pull them out onto a plate with a paper towel to try to sop up any excess grease from the pan. And come on, how good do those look? They're really good to eat as is, but I tend to put hot sauce on pretty much everything, and I think it's especially good on any fried fish. Much like their smelt tastes very mild, and you could probably convince an unsuspecting person that they were eating chicken. So that just about wraps up this video, and I'm getting you all out of here in 8.5 minutes, which is pretty damn good if you ask me. Until next time, be good, people.